Hey everyone, it's John and Dan coming at you with another edition of Dan's Models. And this is a locomotive I'm familiar with, Dan. This is HO scale, right?
Yep.
And tell us about this one.
This is an Athearn ready-to-roll GP60M that I've modified a bit. It's BNSF number 134, which I chose because when we did our HO detailing and weathering series with diesels, we did a BNSF B40-8W
557.
557, and I made this one as a companion for that so that when we did run-by shots at the end of the chapter, it would have something to run with because I didn't really have any other BNSF power.
Right. And the reason for that was because we filmed it.
We
At
filmed it
Niles.
at Niles Canyon, right?
Yeah.
When we did our Day at Niles video, the 557 and 134 were running together on the Warm Springs local.
Yes.
And we've actually caught them both twice. The 557 was leading going south, and then the 134 led coming back north. So I like to model engines that I've actually seen. And I don't know if this is still true, but at the time I bought this, Athearn didn't offer 134 as a number. So I think it was actually numbered, I don't know, something else, 114 or something. But I took the numbers off, and then I used some microscale decals to put the new numbers on. I also redid the number boards and made them light, and they're actually lit right now. I don't know if you can see that. I'll turn them off and on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, well, anyway, they do light up. It's bright in here, so you can't really see it so well. So I did a bunch of stuff to the underside of this thing because as they come from the factory, they're a little spare looking. I added some sander lines on the trucks, not on the both ends because I was afraid on this end that they would interfere with the steps, so I left them off. But over here, there's nothing, and it looks good to have something in there, so there's just not a big air gap. I also sanded down the fuel tank and added some end caps made out of styrene, and also some details like this little piece here, and there's some fuel filler details and stuff on it. I also actually milled the frame down on the sides
Oh, wow.
so that it's narrow, and actually I put some plastic on the edges to simulate the C-channel look that the real ones have, because the frame on this one, it was noticeable enough that it wasn't right, that and because it's painted silver, it really shows up. So I wanted to fix it so it looked better, and that's why I did that. So it was a lot of work, but I think it was worth it. And then I added the air reservoirs or details west parts because the ones that came on it were just like cast onto the body and they didn't look very good. And I added air filters and plumbing and other things. So I think it looks a lot better now.
Yeah.
Mostly I was worried about what it looks like when it's on the track. I didn't model every pipe on the that could be modeled on the real one, because if I sort of feel like if stuff can't be seen when it's running down the track, it's kind of not, why bother?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're only going to see it when you turn it over for Dan's Models.
Right. Another thing I did was to totally remodel the area where the brake ratchet lives, because on the stock model it was recessed but very shallow, and it just didn't look very good. So I actually cut it out and used some leftover parts from my spares box, I think Canon parts mostly, and built a new enclosure and put a new ratchet in there. I also redid the ends handrails because they were the originals were really fragile, and when I took them off the model, it was almost impossible to get them back on again without them falling apart. So I redid the end handrails, and I put in some real chain on the in the middle too,
Right.
instead of the plastic chain.
Yeah, I mean, the attention to detail on this is really great.
I left the stock Q fans in the back because they actually look pretty good, but I did change the dynamic brake fan to a Canon part because I thought it looked better. I added the sunshades, which are brass parts. I think they're from A-Line, and the rearview mirror. And actually, this engine was kind of interesting. I think the rearview mirrors on these things, when they were built for the Santa Fe, were originally forward, and the one on the fireman's side is actually forward of the small window in front. But this particular engine, the rearview mirror on the engineer's side is moved back, and I actually put some nut bolt washer castings on here to show the removed little studs.
Yeah, attention to detail, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing with this engine. It had the mirrors on different places on both sides. I also used some microscale decals to add the reflector stripes on the side, and also to repair the damage that I had to do to the brake ratchet area. I had used some BNSF striping for that.
I'm glad we get a chance to look at the front because I learned something about GP60Ms when we had this locomotive. I believe it was on a podcast or something. And that is that the headlight is offset because there's a door on the left side of the front looking at it this way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how they were made.
Yeah, I'm not sure of any other locomotives that have offset headlights like that.
Some of the SP switchers that had the headlight mounted on one side and the oscillating light mounted on the other, and then when the oscillating light was removed, they just had the headlight off to the side, which is kind of strange looking. But yeah, it's not the norm usually, but I guess it works all right. Anyway, on the front, I changed the snowplow. I used a Details West part, and I added the working ditch lights. It had ditch lights on it, but they were inoperative.
Oh.
And then I also added the MU hoses and MU cable and uncoupling levers and all that stuff that I normally do. I also added some grab irons over the window and windshield wipers and all that kind of stuff. So I installed a LoCSound Select sound decoder in this model. I still need to turn down that noise. That's the random sounds, which you can control the volume of that with a CV. I just haven't programmed it yet, so that's why it's so loud.
Well, I really like this one. It looks great. It sounds good. I mean, except for the volume on that one.
Yeah.
noise. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds like it has a bad
needs
case.
to be tweaked.
Yeah, it has a. There it goes again.
Yeah,
it's like
I'm turning the sound off now.
Bad case of train gas or something.
Yeah, you can actually. I mean, you can turn it off entirely too. But it's better if it's at a more reasonable volume. I usually go through and kind of adjust the volumes on all the individual noises. That's one of the things I like about the LoCSounds is it has all these different noises that you can make, and you can control the volume independently on all of them.
Well, this is one of my favorite Dan's models that we've done recently. I really like this one.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
So I also added some photo etch steps. I forgot to mention that, but over the original steps, so that makes it look a little nicer too.
Yeah, looks good. I'd like to be able to someday do a mock identical run-by of these two locomotives that we filmed at Niles. And
we kind of tried that on the that Santa Clara layout when we did the run-bys for the weathering and detailing.
No diamonds, though. That's why I took
true.
that picture. We couldn't even get it across a bridge like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this edition of Dan's Models. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.